Hey everyone, Mystical Mark here. So in this video, I'm going to be talking about this Mercury retrograde that'll be happening in Aries. So Mercury will be going retrograde on April 1st and will be retrograde until April 25th. All right, let me just pull up the chart here. So as we can see here, I've got this chart set here for April 1st, 4:14 p.m. Mountain Time is when Mercury will be going retrograde at 27 degrees 13 minutes here of Aries. So also happening on this day as well is we're going to have this quarter moon here with the sun in Aries, moon in Capricorn. So I've kind of been just looking over this before recording this video, and again there's a lot of this. I think I mentioned this in my Mercury shadow video as well. There's still a lot of this cardinal and mutable energy. So again, what we're dealing with is a lot of endings and new beginnings. So a lot of change is occurring, right? And of course that's emphasized with this quarter square of the moon, as the sun is in Aries, a cardinal sign, moon is in Capricorn, a cardinal sign. So this is kind of this push for this new direction forward. The moon is ruled by Saturn here in Pisces. It's kind of like this dissolution of structure, right? So this malleable, this changeable type energy, this eroding of the old structure, creating, new goals and not the old goals, right? So again, there's this aspect of this mutable and cardinal type energy. If we do take a look here, we do have Mercury here, and as Mercury goes retrograde, Mercury is in an out-of-sign square to Pluto here in Aquarius. Again, dealing with this aspect of change and transformation. There's an intensity regarding this in some way. This is an out-of-sign square, so typically, Aries and Aquarius, they would get along through a sextile. But as Mercury here is going retrograde near the end of Aries, if it was in Taurus, obviously this would be a natural square, right? So with this out of sign square though, I feel like as this energy is building, but then all of a sudden Mercury goes to change direction, this is highlighting maybe where we need to make these transformations and changes in these larger shifts in our lives. Uranus, the ruler of Aquarius, is here in Taurus. Jupiter is moving into conjunction to Uranus. So I feel like this is creating these shifts and these moves from where we've been fixated, right? Taurus is a very stubborn energy. It doesn't want to move. I've often talked about Uranus and Taurus is kind of like that cattle prod energy. It's trying to nip the cow in the butt to get it going, right? And we've been too fixated maybe in certain areas of our lives and where we maybe need to find a way to kind of shift and change in some way. And because Mercury here is in the sign of Aries, we're dealing with taking action in a new direction, but also dealing with this aspect of self. It's not really focused on our relationships or other people, maybe in letting go of those things in a certain sense, or the disillusion of that, or changing of that in some way, but how it represents our own self and our own identity, but also allowing that for the other in terms of a relationship as well. It's not relying so much on these aspects of codependency, but where we need to make these changes in our own lives. This Mercury retrograde is, of course, happening during eclipse season, which I find interesting. So there's a lot of this stuff regarding the eclipses, anything that's coming up regarding these eclipses, any shifts that we may be needing to make within these next 6 months or so, 5 to 6 months, they're going to be reflected through this Mercury retrograde, right? Because the initial lunar eclipse happened during Mercury shadow, and this next solar eclipse will be happening when Mercury is also retrograde. So the themes of these eclipses are going to be highlighted and re-looked at again as, these things are coming up. So we've already gone through stuff that maybe was prior to these eclipses that are going to kind of come up again. And again, I don't want to put obviously they're saying there's lots of stuff going out there surrounding a lot of these eclipses that are happening. I'm not putting any fear out there regarding any of that. Let's try to stay centered in a place of love regarding this, especially if we're dealing with, in a spiritual community in this sense, regardless of what happens. But I really do feel like with this, and especially with this Mercury retrograde still being in this wide conjunction to Chiron, we're wanting to heal, we're wanting to move forward in a new way here, right? There's these minor aspects here to all of this energy in Pisces. So again, we're dealing a lot with this cardinal and mutable shifts, this change that kind of we really want to occur here in some way with this as well. So, and as well with this septile here to Mars, there's almost like kind of like this faded aspect of dissolution, change, and action in a new direction, maybe even a new guided direction with Mars here in Pisces. And then with this semi-sextile here to this Venus and Neptune, again, it's kind of like this endings. There's could be stuff coming up. It's almost seeming like maybe like this, I almost wanted to say like rose-colored glasses in a sense, but we're wanting to move forward in a new direction, but maybe we're kind of looking and being like, maybe what we're seeing and where we were, we're not seeing it too clearly in a certain sense, and this could be surrounding our relationships as well in this way. This could also surrounding aspects of sensitivity and compassion as we're dealing a lot with this Chiron energy as well and wanting to move forward, wanting to transform and change. In it, bring endings to certain things, and Venus is here. This could relate to, again, to our career stuff, our relationship stuff, all of that. This dissolution of kind of this type of energy and move forward in the sense. There's a semi-square here to Saturn. So again, Saturn in Pisces is kind of like the dissolution of structure. So there's kind of this push to look at, you know, maybe what do we need to erode away? We need to kind of get rid of these old things and kind of maybe look at where we need to move forward in these new directions. There's this biquintile here to Black Moon Lilith. So as Mercury, initially what this would have been was a quincunx, because if we move to Chiron, we can see the quincunx here, and then it'll move to a biquintile. So the quincunx, that brings that kind of frustration, that integration that needs to occur of where we've been outcast, and Chiron is still making that aspect here. But with this Mercury retrograde now, as it starts, we're in this biquintile phase. So this is creative behind the scenes type of work, this beauty and creativity coming through, maybe almost in a metaphysical sense in a way as well, as we come through maybe into this more loving space, focusing on ourselves a lot more as well. There's a lot of this Pisces. Pisces can be a very compassionate and loving sign. Like anything goes in Pisces. There's nothing being boxed in Pisces. And so with Pluto here in Aquarius as well, this Aquarian Pisces energy, we're dealing a lot with like this uniqueness, individuality, unconditional love for that kind of stuff. And so we're really putting this focus here and bringing into our awareness maybe what we need to move forward in, right? A lot of the notions of Mercury retrograde are, you know, we're not really taking action to move forward, but I think in a lot of ways we're kind of learning to know where we need to take action in and move forward in a new direction, where we need to change, where we need to have endings and new beginnings in a certain sense, and where we're making those shifts. And like I said, with this Chiron energy as well, we may be triggered for those certain things to occur. Things may be brought up in order to be healed and transformed in some way. I mean, Mercury will be going direct again, 1558, I believe, is when it entered shadow. And that's going to be surrounding this North Node area again. So again, this shadow started around that North Node and Chiron. Now we're going retrograde, being in this white square to Pluto, and now it's going to go direct again, a North Node, and Chiron's still going to be in roughly the same area as well. So again, this is dealing with our path forward, our trajectory forward, where we want to heal. And ultimately, this is surrounding just aspects of this transformation and change, where we need to shift from this fixated energy and move forward really in a new type of direction. So that's kind of the theme that I feel will be kind of really highlighted during this Mercury retrograde. And again, the eclipses are happening. So this is kind of like a faded space, a faded season that's coming up. Again, and these eclipses tend to highlight for the next 6 months until the next eclipse season. And I think with Mercury being retrograde during this time, really highlighting these areas again, a lot of what is happening, we really need to focus on in these areas of life of where we maybe need to make changes in this sense as well. So that's all I've got for this. Take care out there during Mercury retrograde and do all the typical normal things. But again, focus on yourself, focus inwardly, and take the time to look after yourself during this time as well. Thank you. Take care. Bye for now. Bye.